Today we're welcoming you signing Sam Roscoe to the J Davidson Stadium as a player for Altrincham Football Club. Sam, you're returning home, aren't you, really? Because whilst you've been playing your football mainly in Scotland and Northern Ireland, you're a Mancunian. Tell us about your early life.
Yeah, so obviously returning home after 7 years of being away. I was born and grew up all my life in Altrincham and Timperley. Went to school locally to here, and obviously then at 16 moved up to Blackpool, but I was still home a lot. And then after that, that's when I moved away for good.
So during those early years, having gone to school in Altrincham, I guess you know a little bit about the club.
Yeah, obviously it was a thing to do at the weekends when you were growing up in secondary school, going to the games. So we used to go to a lot of the games. Obviously, when kind of Graham Heathcote was the manager, we'd have gone to a lot of the games. So I've watched a fair few games over the years.
And who are the players that you remember from your times watching Altrincham?
The players I would remember would be your Colin Little, and probably most famously Stuart Coburn. I just used to remember was it the Coburn roar he used to do into the fans after a win. So they'd be the two that probably stick in my mind the most.
So off up to Scotland, and you started your career at Aberdeen.
Yeah, so obviously I was just turned 18 at the time, and then I went to go and play for Aberdeen 20s. So it was a long way from home, but for me it was a really good 3 years. I learnt a lot football wise, and also moving away for good. It gives you a lot of life lessons as well as football lessons.
Well, how would you describe yourself as a footballer?
Well, 6'5". I like to go and defend first. I don't think there's anything better than keeping a clean sheet, really. I'd like to think I'm really comfortable on the ball, left-footed, so it kind of gives a lot of teams the balance. But I just like to, first and foremost, clean sheets, and then after that, that's when I can go and enjoy and play on the ball and be comfortable.
And whilst you were at Aberdeen, you went on loan to Alloa Athletic, played in the Scottish Championship, which is a very good level, and had a good spell with Alloa, and then subsequently moved to Ayr United. Yeah,
so I moved to Alloa in my second or third season at Aberdeen, just on loan, and Jim Goodwin took me. I'd never played kind of any sort of men's football, and I went there and I learned probably more than you can ever learn playing any sort of under-20s football, and spent the whole season there. We were the only part-time team in the league and ended up staying up on the last day of the season, which I think everybody will say we overachieved massively, and I learnt a lot from the manager there, and also all the players kind of looked after me. I was only young, so I really, really enjoyed it. And then obviously did well, and then got the move to Ayr permanently for 2 years. That was a bit more up and down just because of COVID, probably struck at the wrong time. So then came back here for a few months, and then I was back to Scotland. So it was a bit of a roller coaster that. But I did enjoy my time at Ayr. I didn't probably play as much as I'd have liked, and as I thought I maybe should have. But it was another learning curve.
Ayr United, big name in Scottish football, again, Championship side, and really good, strong, hardcore support there.
Yeah, the supporters were brilliant there. The first season, just before COVID hit, we were in the playoffs and we were going well. The second season, we maybe struggled a little bit. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just COVID was difficult for everyone, and we just never really got going. But the fans were always there, home and away, when they could be. And if not, they'd always be. You'd always see them on the social media, kind of telling you this and that. But it was good. I enjoyed my time at Ayr.
Yeah, and out on the coast, a little bit remote, but lovely part of the world.
Yeah, so I stayed in Glasgow, so obviously that was difficult because nothing was open in Glasgow. But again, when we were down in Ayr, you've got a lot of like Troon and stuff where you could go and enjoy your time off. But no, I did enjoy it.
And then how did the move to Northern Ireland come about?
So it was one of them where I was kind of getting towards the end of my contract. I'd been offered another year deal at Ayr, but I kind of knew it was my time to move on, and it was kind of my agent at the time we went over to have a look at it, and when they show you the facilities of kind of Windsor Park where they play and the training facility outside of it, it is hard to turn down at the time. And especially meeting the manager and all the staff there, they were really welcoming, so I ended up signing there.
Yeah, have the opportunity to play at the National Stadium, which is a fantastic facility, as you say, is difficult to turn down. And Linfield, probably the most famous Northern Ireland club for most people.
Yeah, obviously, before going over, I didn't really know too much about it, but as soon as you go over there and as soon as it announced I'd signed, it was clear to see like they are the biggest club in Northern Ireland, I'd say, by a fair bit. And the fans are brilliant. Obviously, they turn up home and away again. Definitely the best away support in the country. So yeah, it was really good.
And you've had a great couple of years at Linfield Football Club, culminating in your first year where you won a title medal.
Yeah, so we won the league on the last day of the season in my first year, which winning trophies is always the best feeling. And to have played my part, maybe played 25 games that year, it feels even better. Unfortunately, we didn't win any of the other cups, but to win the league, it just shows you were the best team for the whole year, which is always a really nice feeling.
And then last season, League Cup winners, second in the league. Larne, a bit of an up-and-coming side in the Northern Ireland Premiership.
Yeah, so we won the cup early March, I think it was. We ended up winning it, but I think we always kind of suffered last year from maybe a European hangover. We had a tough beat in the last to qualify for the group stages, and I don't really think we ever recovered. But we still finished second, which gets them into Europe again this year. So to win a trophy and to get into Europe, finishing second, it's not all bad.
And you'd be the first ever player to play for Altrincham Football Club who has played in the Champions League, the Europa League and the Europa Conference League, the three major European club competitions. That's a fantastic experience for a still relatively young player.
Yeah, so I played in the Conference League, I think, as well in my first year. But then last year we played TNS, Bodo Glimt, Jorick, Riga, who you've got Bodo in there who knocked out Celtic the year before, so you're playing against top opposition, and obviously it can only benefit you in the games, learning and seeing what these top professionals are really like and comparing yourself against them. So it can do you no harm in playing them type of games.
One of the great advantages of playing in Northern Ireland is the opportunity for 2, 3, 4 clubs in a relatively small league to get fantastic experience in European competition.
Yeah, it is massive for the clubs over there. Like you'll see Larne this year will go into the Champions League, and Linfield will go into the Conference League. But like you said, the money that it generates for all the clubs in Europe is massive, and it'll only help boost the game over there, which can only help everybody else.
How would you compare the levels that you've played at, the Scottish Championship, the Northern Ireland Premiership? You've played against the New Saints, who are clearly the top club in Wales. How would you compare those levels?
Yeah, I think the top end of the Northern Irish League is really similar to the Championship. It's competitive. You're not ever going to get a team that's going to just roll over for you. And obviously TNS were really good. We narrowly beat them over the 2 legs, but all the levels were really similar. I would say the top 3, 4 in the Northern Irish League were really strong by the time I'd left. Obviously with Larne, like you said, up and coming. Glentoran's always going to be tough with the derby and stuff, and Cliftonville were really good over the 2 years I was there.
So European football, how does that differ from your domestic league football and the cups?
I think it differs maybe because we always went into the European ties probably as the underdogs, whereas in the league we were always favourites. So you maybe have to adjust your game plan. Obviously we played Bodo, and I think we ended up beating them at home 1-0, and I think we maybe had 20% of the ball, so it's a completely different game that you play, but ultimately it only helps you because you're learning different ways of playing and different styles of playing, and like I said, they were very possession based, and we were happy to kind of let that happen, which you've got to be at that, because you've got to realise sometimes other teams might be better than you, and we did, and we ended up getting a result at home, which was massive for the club.
And some very interesting places to visit. Bodo Glimt, right up in the top end of Norway, I think it is, and FC Zurich, big name in European football.
Yeah, Bodo was an interesting one. No sort of night. It was just sun, 24 hours a day. So it was interesting. But like you said, these stadiums you would never ever really visit other times, and to play in them. And Zurich, obviously, massive club. I know they struggled last year, but the boy Gnotto, who played for Leeds, played that night against us, and you can just tell that the quality is a different level.
Yeah, it's a European Championship venue, the Letzigrund in Zurich. So you're playing at some fantastic locations. FC Zurich actually were European Cup semi-finalists in 1977, knocked out by Liverpool, the first time that Liverpool became champions of Europe. So big name. So you're coming to Altrincham with a fantastic breadth of experience.
Yeah, I think it's put me in good stead. Like you said, I've just turned 25 and I've had a lot of probably games under my belt for a centre-back, and big games really, because these, like you said, these games were always massive in the Champions League because of how important it is to the club to try and progress in that. And I think ultimately that's what, with the Conference League coming in, that's what these clubs wanted to do, is to try and get into the group stage. So it was big pressure and stuff, but it just puts you in a great stead moving forward.
Now you've got a link in the family. Ollie Byrne, Altrincham goalkeeper, last season was or is your cousin. So I assume that Ollie had a part to play in the move.
Yeah, obviously he was, when the interest kind of came about, he was obviously one of the first people I spoke to. Well, he was the first person I spoke to, and obviously he had nothing but good things to say about the club and how it's been. Obviously just going full time, and he loves it here, and everybody knows Ollie. He's a big character in and around the place, so it'll be interesting to play with him. Obviously, last time I played with him was probably for the school team. I was playing probably striker and he was left wing, so things have changed, but hopefully we can form a good partnership back there.
And you're the same academic year, both played for Wellington School in Timperley?
Yes, both played for Wellington School. We're always kind of in the same classes growing up. Two completely different people, but we're still good mates. We always spoke. We never kind of lost contact, and whenever I was home from wherever I was or wherever he was, we would always catch up. And obviously it's going to be interesting again, spending every day with him. But like I said, he's a character, and you'll never get bored of Ollie Byrne.
And what's he told you about the National League?
Yeah, he said it's a physical league. It's demanding. I think it was an eye-opener maybe to him as well in the first few weeks when he came, to kind of what it was. I've watched a few games last year. Like I said, I got down to the Halifax semi-final to watch him, and I watched a couple on the TV last year, and the quality is really high, and some of the teams playing football is really good. Obviously, I watched the Notts County game, and they were brilliant on the night which I watched them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of how it compares, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, non-league football, it's difficult to believe it is non-league football at times. And of course, the National League is essentially now a fully professional division. But it's come a long way since the time you were watching Altrincham, which is, only sort of 10, 15 years ago. Yeah,
it's come on massively. Obviously, I think people maybe still have the perception that non-league is just people kicking and hurting each other, which is so far from that. With the games I see, and it was a lot of good football inside. Obviously, there is certain different styles of play, but a lot of the teams I watch like to play football and get the ball down and play, which I think will suit my game here.
You saw the game against Notts County. Some of the quality of football, passing football that they played on the night was different gravy, really.
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it. Watching their goalie kind of step past the striker and pick passes out left, right. He looked like a centre mid on the day, but they were brilliant on the night. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up when a team plays like that. There's not a lot you can do.
And what do you know about the National League in terms of the teams that will be coming up against this season?
In all fairness, not a lot. Obviously, never played in England in sort of men's football, so I don't know that many players in and around. There's a couple that I played with, probably at Aberdeen, that are now in this league. But it'll be interesting. Sometimes it's better to start with a clear head, and you can learn on the job. Basically, is what I'll be doing. But I'm looking forward to it, and obviously when the game comes, I will do the research to who's playing and who's doing what. But at the minute, it's a fairly fresh book for me, the National League.
And you've had a very successful 2 years at Linfield, very well liked by the Linfield fans, which we can see from the comments on social media. And in many ways, no reason to leave there, but the lure of coming back to home is obviously a big one.
Yeah, the coming back home was massive for me, but also I want to test myself. Playing in England, obviously I've never done it, so it's easy for people to say, oh well, he's doing okay in Northern Ireland, but can he do it in England? So that's what I'm coming here to kind of prove. And it's a club on the up here, and I had some other offers probably in the same league, but I just think location and the style of play and how the club's developing, I just think it was really a no-brainer for me in the end.
So you'll be looking to move into a place locally in the near future?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be in September. But obviously my parents are still local, which is always helpful. So we're all good and we're all settled back home now. And
have you set yourself any objectives for the season?
I don't normally set objectives. Obviously, I seen obviously how Altrincham finished last year, and maybe they would look and say they conceded too many goals. So I'd like to obviously help bring that down. But apart from that, I'm more one that will just concentrate kind of on the game going forward. I wouldn't set myself targets of how many goals I want to score or that, but just keep improving as a player, really.
Oh, well, thanks very much for joining us, Sam, for this interview. Welcome to Altrincham Football Club, and we wish you all the best in your career here.
Thank you very much.